we will deep dive this topic from the both academic perspectives and also operational perspectives. Furthermore, the session will be enriched by the youth entrepreneurs who have been actively engaging in this work. Now I wish to invite Professor Francois Nepal from the University of Pretoria. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning, Keiko, colleagues, Honorable Rector. I saw the Ambassador of Japan to South Africa also there. It's indeed an honor and a big pleasure to be here this morning. Keiko referred to the African Asia platform, that a project which has recently been approved. And I would neglect my duty if I don't thank her, especially Madame de Robo, what's your first name? Indrina. Yeah, Madame Indrina de Robo from the African Development Bank. And then the colleagues from both the University of Tokyo side and the University of Pretoria, who has put in tremendous effort over the last couple of months to make this project possible. Professor Masafumi Nagao, a very good friend of South Africa for a very long time, but also from Africa more broadly, not only South Africa. Professor Margaret, the Dean who have spoken earlier, and other colleagues which are in the room. We hosted Africa Week at Future Africa in May this year to coincide with Africa Day, which happens on the 25th of May every year. And Professor Daiji, the Dean of GRASP, was there, and he was supported by other colleagues from the University of Tokyo also. So from our side and from the Vice-Chancellor side, thank you very, very much for your big support and for collaborating. And this really, we think, lies the platform for us for one of the first big projects based on experience that we've earned from both sides to move ahead with Africa-Asia platform and collaboration in the context of the three opening speeches that were made this morning. With those few words, I'm just going to move on to say a little bit about the role of universities in fostering entrepreneurship and innovation through the Africa-Asia Collaboration Project, which we mentioned has recently been approved. The challenges of youth unemployment and deindustrialization in Africa is very clear. As you can see there, around 60% of Africa's population is currently under 60% of the population is under the age of 25. We have a very young population on the African continent, and that is 600 million people. 72% of the youth in Africa are unemployed or vulnerable. We heard what unemployment and vulnerability leads to, and we really need to make sure that we create opportunities for the youth to get actively engaged. And that leads to 11 million people, youth, expected to enter Africa's labor market every year in the next decade. There you can see very clearly what the effect is of total manufacturing and value chain involvement that continues very low trends if you look at sub-Saharan Africa at the bottom and you compare it to some of the other industrialized countries higher up. The importance of entrepreneurship cannot be overemphasized. It was emphasized and referred to as a critically important component to be built into the curriculum from undergraduate right through to postgraduate by all three opening speakers. It creates new job opportunities, it encourages innovation, it boosts economic growth, and it creates self-employment opportunities. Like the Vice President of the African Development Bank has mentioned, the youth must get opportunities. They are hungry to get opportunities and be trained so that they have skills to start businesses, start entrepreneurial activities, and become economic and socially active citizens of the different countries. If you look at the right there, you can see this diagram here clearly indicates from the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor report the importance of the role of education. That education plays as a determinant to entrepreneurial potential of individuals in society. It's very clear there that you can see that how individuals become more entrepreneurial as their level of education improves. The university has a very specific and important role in promotion of a resilient entrepreneurial ecosystem. I think the Vice President of the African Development Bank concluded sort of to say that universities has the responsibility and they should be empowered to take the lead in this specific regard. The rector of the University of Tokyo emphasized that, and Margaret, in the presentation of our Vice Chancellor at the University of Pretoria, also emphasized the importance of that in moving forward. One of the important roles of the university is specifically education and skills development to prepare students for the future of work. There you can see at the University of Pretoria, we've established a Center for the Future of Work within the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences. Although it's hosted in the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences, it's a center which cuts across the whole university. Similarly, we will refer later to it again, the Public Policy Hub, where there will be a lot of conversation because of the strong focus of public policy under auspices of the Africa-Asia Platform Project, which will be led from GRASP on this side and the Public Policy Hub at the University of Pretoria, again hosted, or housed, should I say, in the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences, but to a very large extent have a responsibility to coordinate across the whole university, because public policy is not only important for economists or for people in economic and management sciences, but similarly important whether you work in the field of food security on the African continent, or any specific big challenge problem requires a very strong understanding of systems, of transdisciplinarity, and of how to engage with policymakers and make sure that we bridge the science-policy divide effectively. Incubation and acceleration to provide platforms for innovation. Similarly important, there we have TICS Innovation, an initiative which we also have at the University of Pretoria to move to be more entrepreneurial and contribute significantly to the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And finally, academic industry collaboration to promote commercialization of research. I think there's really a lot that we certainly can learn on the African continent from Japan and from Asia in that specific regards. There was specific reference by the rector of a number of initiatives where academic industry collaboration to promote commercialization is active and moving forward at a fast pace. The Africa-Asia University Platform, or Africa-Asia Platform, knowledge exchange through the platform is the focus of what we want to do. We want to build entrepreneurial capacity at both sides, but similarly, we want to make sure that Africa-Asia knowledge exchange happens through the mechanism or the platform, this project on Africa-Asia promotion. The Africa-Asia Business Partnership Platform is a university-led mechanism led by the University of Tokyo on the Japan side and led by the University of Pretoria on the South African side to capacitate and foster collective learning between the next generation of South African and Asian business entrepreneurship. We've got a little bit of a pilot which have preceded this, which was also run by Dr. Farai Kapfatsarua, who was working with us at the University of Pretoria and worked very closely with Professor Masafumi Nagao, which we mentioned earlier, on the Japan side. So this has actually formed the basis for the official launch of this, or soft launch, if you want to call it that way, which we have today of the Africa-Asia Platform Initiative. To promote the capacity development and collective learning, the platform is prioritizing the following: to provide a regular and self-sustaining mechanism for young entrepreneurs, researchers, and government officials to share their views, experiences, and interact and learn from each other in the various types of Africa-Asia exchange. It's almost similar to what the rector has referred to, dialogue for transformation of the higher education system, and dialogue which is urgently required at different levels across all the different sectors on the African continent and in Asia, if we think of Africa, Asia more broadly, but led by the University of Pretoria in South Africa and the University of Tokyo in Japan, to promote the co-sharing and co-creation of innovative visions, ideas, and practical venture schemes to support Africa's sustainable development, to conducting research and training to meet the human and institutional capacity needs. Obviously, universities are slow to adapt. At the University of Tokyo, there's a high number of highly successful academic industry partnerships already in play, whereas at the University of Pretoria, there's some examples, but there's a real need to escalate and amplify that significantly. Thank you very much.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to say thank you to University of Tokyo, University of Pretoria, for just inviting the Africa Development Bank. I know this is your project, but at the end of the day, we are collaborators and working together. So I'm going to give a brief presentation in terms of, what and how is the Africa Development Bank supporting entrepreneurship, university-industry partnership, and entrepreneurship. I want to start by just appreciating, I think there's a lot that is going on in universities. I want to appreciate what has been highlighted both by the University of Tokyo as well as University of Pretoria. There's much going on in as far as entrepreneurship and supporting entrepreneurship is concerned. And the presentation I'm going to give this morning is just basically to highlight how do we position ourselves as the Africa Development Bank in supporting these ideas. This morning, my Vice President did highlight the strategic orientation of how the bank supports regional member countries. As you may know, our agenda is really to promote and support, mobilize resources and support regional member countries to be able to take their priority agendas forward, development agenda forward. Now, for this year, I must highlight and say that, as a bank, whatever engagement and whatever support that we provide to government has to be provided through an approved strategic framework, which the Vice President talked about this morning. But I just want to highlight a few areas within this strategic framework which are actually aligned to entrepreneurship and innovation. And there are 4 key areas, as you may have seen. For the next 10 years, the bank has committed or has identified priority areas that it wants to focus on in terms of supporting young people, in terms of making sure that we position young people as key players in the transformation of the continent. And I think what is clear in the strategy itself is that we are going to focus on youth. The figures have come out here in terms of what the situation is for the youth and what needs to be done. And so as a bank, we are saying we need to position ourselves. We need to make sure that youth are actually put at the center of whatever we do, so that in any intervention or any support that we provide, they are given consideration and they are given priority. So in the 10-year strategy, we are focusing on 5 high 5-5. One of the high 5-5, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but just to give you key highlights of that. One of the high 5-5 is around improving the quality of life for the people of Africa. Now, within that, the priorities that the bank has put, that they are committing to, are many, but I want to focus on those 4. One, which is related to innovation, is accelerating access to finance and ecosystem and support system for the entrepreneurship and innovation. It's in white and black, and we are saying any opportunity, any government that comes up to request or to ask for support in that area will be able to have a conversation and design the project to move forward. The other one is we are saying if we are looking for skills for empowering the youth with the skills, we need to think about the technical vocational education in our countries or on the continent, because that's one area where we feel the government could provide support and ensure that the youth get the right skills mix to be able to contribute. Technical skills could be at middle, high, or lower level that are critical in transforming either industry or whatever actions that we are going to be undertaking. So we are putting a lot of emphasis on that. And just to mention that we are not just looking at the infrastructure and equipment that is supposed to be used to support these youth. We are also looking at what kind of policy environment, how can we support to create that enabling policy environment, working with government and making sure that they put in place policies that are going to promote the investment on the intervention that we are supporting. And then the other one is acknowledging the challenges and the issues that young entrepreneurs are facing currently in Africa. The bank has also committed to set up a youth entrepreneurship investment bank, and a number of countries have already started setting up those entrepreneurship banks. The whole idea is how to make sure that we get friendly financing mechanism for these entrepreneurs on the continent. And then lastly, but not the least of the 4 key priority areas, is the issue around skilling for employability and productivity in Africa. We are saying there's no way we are going to transform this continent if we don't invest in making sure that we have the right skills, or we put in a system that is going to support member countries to have the right skills mix and so on. So in terms of strategic framework, it's very clear. I think the challenge goes back now to the regional member countries. How do we take advantage of such strategic framework so that you are able to gain the resources that are required for universities to engage in this case? So within that broader framework, I think I've talked about that. That's the new 10-year strategy. And you may be asking, okay, if this was approved in 2024, what have you been doing before then? So we've had the skills for employability and productivity. This is an action plan that we are currently implementing and is coming to an end this year. You heard my president talking about the successes that we've had, more than 1.09 billion that has been invested to support infrastructure-related and policy-related projects in this action plan. We've also got the Jobs for Youth in Africa strategy with a very ambitious targets in terms of supporting and creating jobs. This is also coming to an end. And so what we are currently doing is really now we are designing, building on what we have done here and what we've done under the Jobs for Youth in Africa strategy. How do we then respond to what we have been asked to, given those 4 areas that we have talked about? And this is why we are now developing the Job, Skills and Youth Action Plan to try and translate those actions that I highlighted there into practical ways of supporting regional member countries. I think the question that I was asked also is, so how do you engage universities? Where do universities come in this ecosystem? Just to highlight that, of course, as a development bank, our first support goes to government. And so we want to see universities engaging with government and then through government to the Africa Development Bank. Our own experience has shown that sometimes it's very easy for universities to say, okay, we want to do this, we want to do ABCD, but when we start the development and the design of the project, they kind of back off from the whole process. And then when it comes to implementation, sometimes they are the people who are supposed to implement. So for us, our core is, let's work together. Let's collaborate, because we don't prescribe the project. It's government that prescribe what they want. And sometimes we find that there's a disconnect between what is going on in university. The government is saying we want to support higher education, innovation and technology, but they have not picked, or you have not provided that information to the government so that then they are able to design a program that responds to the needs or that responds to some of the innovation that we have done within that country. So really, let's collaborate. I think that's what we are saying. The second one, we are saying knowledge partners. Yes, we are a development bank. We work with government. You can come in if you're for a private sector, private university. We work with you directly, but mostly we work with the government. But we also have opportunities for, I have 1 minute, sorry, I'm rushing. We also have opportunities where we can work together. If there's a particular knowledge that we want to do, and this could be either you are responding to a call, or maybe we've had some conversation and we see the need which is aligned to the strategy, we can have a conversation. So how do we work together to make that happen? In some cases, you could be an implementing partner. Implementing partner, the case we are talking about today, they've actually been identified as implementing partners. So they are the ones who are going to implement an idea that came from them, which aligns to what we do, and we support it. Or you provide the technical expertise. I mean, there's a lot that has been said here, and we are, as a bank, we are willing to support that. And there are different ways that you can provide that support. Few examples. The Pan-Africa University, that has been talked about. I just want to highlight one thing. I know the VP talked about it, but I think critical to us is the innovation hub that has been established. And it's not one of its kind. It's one of the many. So how do we use that? Through this Asia-Pacific collaboration, how do we maximize the use of that to be able to move from ideation to production? Special initiative, coding for employment. Again, this is one way where we collaborate with university. We had an idea, an initiative that we thought could add value in this era of technology, identify university, worked with them, and that has proved very successful, and it's now being integrated into a program design. And then we have the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Lab. Again, this is an initiative. We're working with various partners. The pillars are there: market analysis, capacity building. When I look at that and the presentation I got, I think there's a lot that we can do to work together and build on what has already been highlighted. These are some of the opportunities for working together. I'm not going to repeat them, but I think it will be important for us to explore and see how we continue, how the Africa Development Bank could continue to play their role. If you pilot something and it works, bring it in, take it to the government. Let's scale it up. And that's what we are here for. Okay, and then the last one, before I say thank you, is just to say that we are committed as a bank. We supported this Asian platform, and we're excited. We want to make sure that whatever learnings, appreciate the efforts that the universities are doing, and then we scale it up. We said, okay, let's start with the South, but at the end of the day, we want that integrated, because entrepreneurship and innovation is one way we can resolve the issues. Thank you so much, and apologies for taking a bit of the time.
This session, we are going to talk about some experience from the young entrepreneurs, and we would like to share some ideas and how they have been here. So I would like to first give the question to Mr. Shohei. So with your exceptional background at McKinsey, you are an entrepreneur of agribusiness now, which was not your first expertise. How did your experience in university and McKinsey help you to set up the current business? Why did you choose agriculture? And what is your vision about Africa-Asia platform to enhance youth entrepreneurship and innovation? What is your advice for this upcoming project?
All right, thank you for the question. I actually went to South Africa, I think that was 3 years ago. Thankfully to Mr. Nagao Sensei, I used the A&A platform and visit South Africa. And that time, Jacaranda was beautiful, and I really loved the country. Yeah. And back to my experience in the university and my prior job. When I was a university student, I spent 1 year at the University of Illinois in the US and majored in agricultural management. And obviously, the US agriculture and Japanese agriculture is, in the opposite. So Japanese agriculture, it's more about craftsmanship, and in the US, it's all about the business, right? It's somehow opposite. And by looking at those two opposite industries, I thought what Japanese agriculture has to adopt is, business sense. So we have a lot of good products, but we fail in investing in the proper timing or developing the, growing global market. So I really wanted to add some business essence to the Japanese ag industry. That's the reason why I chose McKinsey & Company after the graduation. So, those experiences, looking at the overseas, bringing some, different perspective helped me a lot in, creating my career now. And the next topic is about the future of A&A, right? 3 years ago, what I felt in South Africa was in Africa, I said Japan is more like craftsmanship and US is business. There are two opposite players staying together in Africa. So on one side, there's huge plantation, right? But on the other side, there are a lot of small family-owned farmers, so it's much more complicated than Japan. It's somehow difficult to directly compete with the huge one with, limited, resources. So that's the, thing I felt. And at the same time, I felt like there's some collaboration opportunities between Japan and Africa because we, as a, industry, the main player is small farmers. We have a lot of, best practices. The one is niche product development. So that's always the strategy to compete with a huge player, right? So in Japan, we have super sweet, strawberries or, aromatic apples, and sticky sweet potatoes. Those very niche product development, those kind of product development, US or Brazil don't really care. They want to, make the business bigger and bigger and want to produce the commoditized products. So that kind of niche product development, I think there's collaborative opportunity between Japan and Africa. That's the first thing. And the second thing is about the tourism farming. Recently tourism farming, agrotourism is very popular in Japan and a lot of best practices in Japan. So small farmers set up the farm with cafe. They offer their, own crafted products and appeal to Japanese people and overseas people as well. And thinking about Africa, there are a lot of, cultural heritage and original products, indigenous, varieties. So I think, those type of things, those type of collaborations, I want to, dig deeper in the future. And I believe, there's a lot of opportunities between Japan and Africa.
Thank you, Shohei-san. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to move to Mary. So my question is, as a beneficiary of Japan-Africa Dream Scholarship, Jazz, please share your experience and tell us why you choose the universities in Japan, not the university in the US or Europe in the first place. And as a Jazz scholar, how did you carry yourself to participate in the subsequent internship program? What do you think now about the future AA partnership? How can Jazz contribute more onto it?
Right. Thank you so much. Wow. That's a very interesting question, power-packed, but I'll try and answer within the time frame. And I also want to use this opportunity to say thank you very much to AfDB, to the government of Japan, and to IDCJ, because I believe my batch, which was 2022 cohort, it wouldn't have been possible. I wouldn't have been a leader here if all these supports were not generated. So I really want to appreciate you for that. Now to the question, why Japan? So I have a background in healthcare management, and working at the hospital, it's quite disheartening to know that some deaths were, you could have prevented it, right? And there's always an issue at the pharmacy saying that we have low stock of very critical medications or medicines available. And having the African drive, I kind of had to research on where or which country has the best structure in terms of health system. Also, the key aspect is not just finding the structure or technology. We are looking at standard and quality. Obviously, there's no other than Japan. So yes, the reason for choosing Japan and the Japanese university, to be able to be empowered, learn more of health system structure, and be impacted to also go back to my country and the continent to support. So that was the basic reason. And on a lighter note, I really love ramen, so I had a dream of enjoying Tonkotsu ramen, and yeah, that dream came onto reality thanks to you also, yes. Thank you. That was my reason, and also to my journey through JAT scholarship, internship. My research background was to have a system that could help in making the procurement system seamless. So the system I looked at was electronic procurement. My supervisor really helped, although I was in Ghana during COVID. I came back, he supported, and he kind of took me to some hospitals as well. Thankfully, after this research and some few other like-minded people like me, e-procurement is now in Ghana with a good success rate, so quite impressive. After which I had to do internship of 6 months. This internship, I had a different view. I wanted to do something quite practical, which is in public health. And my drive for searching for such, I found Sora Technology. Just a brief background, I hope I have time. Sora Technology is a drone and AI company for Africa. That would be my summary for it. And to us here, do you know the disease or the most harmful animal that kills so many Africans? Just a guess. It kills about 90% of Africans. Mosquito, perfect. Thank you so much. Yes. So mosquito is a deadly animal. It gives malaria. It transfers to the Plasmodium parasite. I am not a medical person, public health management, but then I got to appreciate it because Sora Technology had this amazing solution, a Japanese company having the technology, which is drone, having the AI, but they couldn't penetrate in the market because there was no African. There is no one to share the story. Being a victim of malaria, every African for sure. So I had the opportunity to intern with this amazing company called Sora Technology, the very first intern, the very first African. And together, they empowered me through skill development where, aside my background in public health, I am a drone pilot. I can also analyze. So with that skill, we were able to penetrate into Ghana. We have an operational research we just ended. We're gonna continue also in November. So yeah, that has been my journey. And I believe it's the African drive, which is every African youth. We are the 60% of the population. AfDB has also projected that by the year 2030, we will have the world population or global population, 40% of it being youth. So we have that drive, we have that enthusiasm. We just need opportunity. And Japan has that system, has that skill, has that very structured and technology-based country where we can leverage, and together we co-create. Together we are able to, conceptualize things to bring impact. And I think that has been my journey. Now to AA partnership. I think my story kind of brings it and narrows it down that there is a tremendous opportunity where the youth in Africa, we have the drive, we have the story, we want to change our continent. But there is a system, and we need that excellent structure to be able to empower our country, to be able to go back and build our country better. And that is where we need to partner, where the youth gets to benefit. We go back to our home country. We do much better for our country and the continent Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. I hope you can carry on your spirits to cascade to your younger generation.
Most definitely. And yes, sorry, can I add on? Yes. So there was also a question on how JAT can kind of improve the current structure. And one of the things that has been on my heart, and this is an opportunity to share, is that there should be an alumni sort of connect where myself, who has an experience in connecting with the Japanese company and expanding, not just in Ghana, but 8 other countries, and also my friend here, Glory, who is also representing a Japanese company doing biofertilizer and has a franchise in Malawi. we can share these stories across Africa and with key stakeholders. So you gather us in maybe one of the African country, Kenya, Nigeria, you bring all stakeholders together. We can share with them that this is how we are connecting, this is how we are building Africa. So please join us, give us the opportunity to come to your country and share this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to move on to Toru-san. So, Toru-san, as an Abe Fellow, you studied at Tokyo University of Agriculture to learn about marine resource management. You became the staff of Daikin Corporation since this spring, and you are now expected to be a strategic future leader for the company's development in West Africa. How will you transfer your knowledge and experience acquired through study and internship in Japan to Daikin and back to Africa? Please share your experience with the audience.
Thank you very much for the introduction, very well presented. And I would like to say thank you for everyone for being here. So I'm from Senegal, I think that was not mentioned. And first of all, I would like to use this opportunity to thank JICA, which provided me the opportunity to be one of the Abe Fellows. I belong to the third batch, as mentioned, and I was in the Tokyo University of Agriculture at the Setagaya campus. Mainly, I focused on marine resource management, and the idea was mainly focused because in Senegal, fisheries is one of the driving economics. We have a lot of a rich fishing ground, but unfortunately we are facing a lot of over-exploitation and also a lot of impact from the fishing, what we call the INA fishing, which is illegal, non-regulated and non-reported fishing. And the other side, we have the fishing community that relies entirely on fishing. So we can say more than 90% fishing is the only income generating activities. So my idea was to look at how the policies is protecting the livelihood of this well-represented community in Senegal. And after my graduation, I decided to go back to Senegal. And before that, I also did an internship with a Japanese startup, which is called Dive Into Code. And everyone was asking why you were going to a startup, because Abe initiative gives you a tremendous opportunity to go to the big companies like Toyota, Mitsubishi, and everyone was trying to go there. But behind, in my mind, I was like, I want to be part of something that is being built. I can go to the big companies, but you will be just an employee or an intern. But from a startup, you can be at the core of the development of ideas and looking at the failures, which, let me call it quote-unquote failures, because I don't believe in failures. So that was something very important to me, and I could have some realization. And from there, the company has started its expansion in Africa, which was very proud things. And from Daikin perspective, because it can be a bit awkward from marine resource management to Daikin as a sales staff. Well, prior to coming to Japan, I did a study in master in economics. So I was specialized in international trade negotiation. And I kind of love data manipulation and using statistics to get insight and try to see how we can improve things. So I joined recently Daikin and mainly now tasked to develop strategies and market in Africa. And this week we have been present exhibiting at TICAT, which was very congested and very proud to see a lot of African initiatives. And one thing that attracted my attention is just now most of the Japanese companies are aware of the need of having local staff, African staff, involving into the expansion into Africa. And that's something that we need to encourage. And I think through this collaboration from JICA scholarship, AfDB Bank scholarships, and also the young Japanese entrepreneurs, I think we can realize having a bigger impact of this thing. My perspective or my vision about Asian and Africa platform, there is one thing I would share from both sides. One thing from the Japanese side is typically the Japanese company, they are very aware of the huge potential that is in Africa. But the only problem so far was mainly Japanese company was related, like relying on existing or reliable data in order to make decisions. So that was very traditional. And when you look at the other side, other Indians or like Chinese companies, instead of just waiting to have the reliable data and make decisions, they are going directly on site and getting those data collected by themselves, which is paying off at some cost. Now we need to balance and see. So one maybe advice I would give to any Japanese company that would like to have a fruitful business or business expansion in Africa is first have the trust with the African collaborators. That is very important, because with the speed of trust, things can move forward, and I think she can be one of the examples. The second thing may be from the African side. I graduated in a University of Dakar, where you are overwhelmed with programs, like you have to learn a lot of things, and at the end of the day, sorry, you graduate, but you are not operational. For example, if I want to work at the African Development Bank after my graduation, sorry, they will directly ask, what can you do? We are aware you know a lot of things, but what can you do now? So that's the thing that is lacking. And why it is very important to collaborate with Japanese companies and Japanese society is just during my internship and my short experience in Japan, I see the collaboration between the academic, the government, and the companies. And I think in Daikin is one of the very good examples, as mentioned by Mr. President, because they have what we call the Baridi in Tanzania, which was very innovative, doing AC business, acquiring your AC equipment through subscription. And those are the initiatives that I think Africa needs. And together, I think we can build a fruitful collaboration between Africa and Japan. And I would not like to talk too much, because I have a lot of things to share. But yeah, just thank you very much, and thank you the organizers like University of Tokyo, the African Development Bank, and also the University of Pretoria. And a special thank also to Professor Nagao, who is supporting a lot. We discussed a lot about this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's give them a big applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My role is to reflect the discussion, but I think all the keyword has been said. Discussion, including the first session, is, in my sense, it's a kind of exploration to use the most of, say, two people's instinctive desire. So one is actually, as in the title, real world change. So I think people can become happy when they contribute to the real world. And I think that is also why Africa is now collecting many talents from the world to do the startup business in Africa. Because if the kind of small intervention through the startups can change the society, that is why many people feel that kind of excited and to come to Africa. So, and the second instinct is actually which university has the most strength, which is the intellectual instinct. So I think this seminar's concept is kind of using or merging these two desires. And then and the action itself, I think as Vice President Nena mentioned at the beginning, co-creation of players is the one we can do. So on that one, as President Fuji presented in his presentation, the University of Tokyo has already done not only about education, but also incubation and also investment itself. And also AfDB side, as Hendrina presented, of course they are doing through its operation, including incubation and also support to the universities or those kind of things. And also as Minister of Finance, I'm not saying actually he's a top, but so as a Minister of Finance, we are happy that we are supporting those kind of entrepreneurship programs through AA program, and also a human development through the scholarship Japan Africa Dream Scholarship. And also, like, I take note of Mary's points that we should advance a little bit more to use to maximize the benefit of its program. And then here, like, I think what we targeting is a little bit more than this. So, and that one said, like, in case of the university, I like actually the word actually said by Vice President Nena is kind of not to be an ivory tower. And then this one, like, I also like the word by President Fuji, like when we met together with President Adesina. I think you mentioned that the university has to shift from the curiosity-oriented research to the mission-oriented research. I think this is really a kind of really keyword. And then to do that, I think the things which is necessary is that dialogue. So like creating future through dialogue is really, in my view, yeah, when I read that phrase, like I think it is really the one like we need. So for instance, the kind of research like which identifies the frontier issues, or the issues which can provide the kind of great impact to the society. So identifying those issues is the things which can be done by academics, or only can be done by academics. So for instance, like now, actually I'm also interested about agriculture. And then like in agriculture, now they are researching about how to reduce the SO2 from a cow. And like those ones, like until we examining all the kind of CO2 or those kind of data, like we didn't know that this cow like around there is an issue, right? But now like we know that say like how much impact those kind of things can be done. So like there's many similar things. So like and then so like to how can I say target those kind of research in a mission-oriented way. Like I think MDBs, which is another knowledge institution, can also do, because we have a lot of field experience, and like we get somehow those kind of knowledges, and then like probably about the challenges or issues, and also like other private companies too. So like if we can have a kind of targeted or structured dialogue among us, actually like we can really, how can I say, by stimulating each other, like we can contribute to the real world change. So like, I think if we can build those kind of ecosystem, and I think that would be very good, and that's also what what we want to contribute. So like, I think yeah, the year word about creating a future through dialogue is really key word, and like I think if we think in that way, like we can we can construct the kind of structure and those kind of things, and then like the title was campus to community. But then community, like here means it's like a local community or many community, but we can make those kind of community which we can change the world. So like, I think this is a kind of reflection I had, but yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nomoto-san. And actually, I would like to really announce that he was a former executive director of the African Development Bank, who most contributed to the youth development and entrepreneurship and skills innovation last 4 years at the African Development Bank. So we sincerely appreciate him, and let's give him a big applause. Thank you very much.